All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is video number 2, removing bubbles. Now this bubble is quite a ways in to the slide, and normally you'd say, I'm never going to get rid of these bubbles, but since this is a mosquito, pretty good one, I want to preserve that slide forever. So what I'm going to do is move, let me just reduce the magnification here. There we go. I'm going to heat up the slide in the area here. There we go. Let's do that. And when the resin starts to melt inside, sometimes it automatically moves, or we have to coax it. You know what? Because it's not going to do anything because I turned the heat off. How silly of me. But I'm not going to stop the video and start over again. You get the point. I like a soldering iron because it's a tip, very hot tip. With a hair dryer, it heats up everything, and you don't want to necessarily heat up everything. The rest of the slide is okay. It's just this one here is troublesome. So let's see if this one becomes problematic for me. Let me see if it's moving or not. Nothing's happening yet. Okay, but we'll do it again. Okay. And take very close attention to the surrounding, because if you see some bubbles start to appear, what's happening is the gases inside there it goes. Okay, there it goes. Now let's bring it over here to draw it to the outside. Okay, here we go, here we go. That's enough heat. Okay, now if the bubble doesn't move, you can coax it by just using your finger and pushing it out. Apply a little pressure. Would you believe I just touched the tip of the soldering iron? Ouch. All right, so okay, the hazards of slide making. Here we go. So I pushed it out, see? Now, of course, notice how it's going to suck back in again. So I'll take this syringe needle, and I'll just scoop this away a little bit. Hopefully. And I'm going to put a little bit more just in case it sucks back in again. There we go. So I'll consider that a success. So that one slide that I considered not to be acceptable because I had a bubble right in the middle, right in the viewing area. If you have a bubble on the outside, very small bubble on the outside, and it doesn't seem to bother you, and it's not noticeable under low magnification, that's up to you whether you want to try it or not. But the individual that told me about this, her name was Levinson. So I'm going to call this the Levinson method. And she's an arts and crafts person that uses resins. And she learned that heating up the, whatever it was she was working on, if there was a bubble in there, with a hairdryer would cause the bubbles to rise to the top. Now, what happens with the heat is that if it's placed directly underneath the bubble, the heat is going to cause the gas bubble to expand, and it has to go somewhere, okay? And so it usually will move in the area of the melted resin. So if you take your heating tip, let's say this is the heating tip. Let's get rid of that. I don't like that. Let me use this. Let's say this is my heating tip, okay? You put it underneath. If you put the heating tip over here near the edge, it will reliquefy the resin over here, so the bubble will want to move into the area there. Now around here it's all hard, so it won't move that way, it'll move this way. So if you're going to heat the slide, if you want, you might want to first heat this area to liquefy the resin again, then put the heating tip under the bubble, and then it will move into the liquefied portion. And then once the slide has cooled down and it will have drawn back some of the resin that we put on the outside, the reservoir, it will draw back because the bubble isn't there anymore. So that space has to be taken back up again with the resin. Once give it sufficient amount of time to dry, however much time it is, I usually give it at least 2 or 3 days if something's on the side. If it's on top, I give it a lot more time, sometimes a week, even up to a month, because if I apply pressure to the top of the slide, it will sometimes cause more problems than it's worth. So I notice over here, see there's a bubble showing over there. I'm just going to leave that. That doesn't bother me. So that's enough for this video. So that's the 2 videos on removing bubbles. I hope you enjoyed it. And for you slide makers, microbe hunters that want to make preparations, hope that helps you in your making perfect slides. My biggest concern, of course, was after I go through all that trouble making a beautiful slide, and it's not always 100% guaranteed you're going to come out with a perfect slide. When you do, it really is exasperating when you have one with a bubble in it. So this makes me feel really good. Thank you, everybody, and bye. Take care.